starting pitchers, what to look for, strategy, undervalued players, deep league darts. Don't go anywhere. Nick Pollack of Pitcher List is next on Beat the Shift. And welcome to another episode of the Beat the Shift podcast. This is your host, Ariel Cohen, and with me as always, Ruvain Guy. What's up, Ruvain?
Not much. How are you doing today?
Still hoarse, Ruvain. It's been a month, man, but getting a little bit better. How about you?
Yeah, you sound a little better. I mean, life is good right now. Baseball's spring training's in full swing. I got to watch Nolan McLean pitch 4 shutout, 1 hit, 6 strikeout innings today. This was pretty good.
Not bad at all. I told you my wife went down to spring training to watch the Mets, and the player that she was most impressed with, Robert Stock, relief pitcher, signed a minor league deal with the Mets. He was averaging 97. He actually pitched today, 2 perfect innings, 4 strikeouts, 7 whiffs. Look out for him. He does this, he'll make the back end of the Mets bullpen, and the Mets could surely use some help. I'll tell you that.
He could be a long man. I don't see him being like a short man. I think he's more like a long type pitcher. So.
We'll take anybody for the Mets that we can get. I'll tell you that. All right. Anyways, we've got a fantastic show today. We're going to talk starting pitchers, and there's none other better than Nick Pollack of Pitcher List. Welcome to the show, Nick. What's going on, man?
Oh, man, you flatter me, Ariel. Ruvain, Ariel, it's great to see you. Well, not see you. For whatever reason, you don't let me even see you while recording. And one day, I'll let that happen. You'll let that happen, but I'm excited to be here. It's so much fun talking with you guys. And by the way, I was actually talking to Robert Stock today right after that start because he looked jacked in that photo and had to figure out everything he was doing. And he's really focusing on trying to attack to finish batters in 3 pitches or fewer. So I feel like the Mets have a good reliever here. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch for you guys.
All right, so you actually agree with my wife's assessment?
Absolutely.
All right. Awesome. Very cool. All right. Well,
she married you. I agree with her a lot.
There you go.
That's
All right.
okay.
Well, we'll get right into it. Strategy section today. We'll throw out a couple of stuff, and then we'll get into some ATC undervalued pitchers as always. So we're going to noodle a lot on you, and I have to tell you, Nick, that, I used to think I know pitching really well, and I used to get my undervalued guys, but it's getting tougher and tougher to do that. I feel like there's, more of an elite class, and then it's harder to pick out these undervalued pitchers because everybody's on the same guys. So really going to need your help to really pick out the diamonds in the rough here.
Well, it's not as hard as you think, Ariel, and we'll talk about it during this, but because there are so many, it actually means that some are innately going to be good value.
Right, that's true. If you have to emphasize certain pitcher types, I don't know, maybe high strikeouts or whatever, maybe a statistic, maybe a surface stat or a component stat, what do you emphasize when you're picking pitchers that you want to put on your fantasy rosters?
Oh, man. That is a very loaded question. And my philosophy of just player assessment, I think, is a little different than the majority of perspectives. And I don't know necessarily if it's the right one. It's just the one that I like. And it has to do not really with just one specific stat to lean on to sort a table by X, Y, and Z, but it's really to just get a perfect picture of what the pitcher does. What does he do? What is his pitch for strikes against lefties and pitch for strike against righties? What is his whiff pitch? Does he have things to turn to later on in the game when other things aren't working, etc.? How do they all interact with each other, right? And what I think is most important entering this year, one of the lessons I learned is upside comes in many varieties, and it's not just in that super fun, high velocity, potential strikeout guy. It comes in opportunity, an opportunity that is not going to hurt you. And what I mean is a guy who goes 160 plus innings like a Matthew Boyd, where it's actually of quality ratios. And he was going far later than, well, really off the radar relative to, say, Jack Leiter, who was a hot topic last year, who had a good look in that rotation with the Rangers initially, and then it was rocky after that. And I think it's really important to draft pitchers who you feel good starting early in the season. If you just listen to that, I think you can actually draft really well and avoid a lot of landmines.
Ruvain, is there anything that you emphasize?
Yeah, I'm looking for. I mean, to add on to what Nick said, a good pitcher that has a K per nine, a good K per nine. You want to have a high strikeout pitcher in your roster, but you also want to have what's called a compiler, a guy who can get a lot of innings, has a good ground ball rate. Because if you have a high K per nine guy already, you need someone who can just get those innings of good ERA and good WHIP. So if you have that balance of two starters like that, then you can fill in the holes and get other fringe guys and build your pitching roster that way.
So, I mean, I don't look at much video of pitchers. I don't have time, other than my own Mets, of course. But, statistic-wise, K minus BB percent to me is a very quick, oh, look, which guy's doing good. So, sort the league by K minus BB. That'll get you a very large percentage of the way there. I also am very big on inning pitched per game start. Players who go deep into games often get wins, right? If you pitch 5 innings, if you pitch 4 2/3 innings of amazing ball, 0 ERA ball, you'll get 0 wins. You have to go the 5th inning, and if you go the 7th, 8th inning, you'll have a better chance of winning. So, especially leagues that count wins for points or wins for categories, I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, Noah Cameron's a good example of someone that we actually knew last year when he got the job with Kansas City, because he was the next one up when there was a problem. Right away, he had an opportunity. The Royals like to let their guys go deep into games. There are some teams that are like that. The Mariners like to do this. The Guardians like to do it. The Royals like to. And if you can find a pitcher who's in this opportunity and has it, and it's not necessarily, you don't need to have that 25% strikeout rate. You can have a 23% or 22%, and just because you'll get through 6, exactly what both of you are saying, getting through those games. I actually, Ruvain, I might differ a little bit that I don't love these super high ground ball guys, because it's very dependent on the team that they're playing for. If they're on the Cubs or maybe the Diamondbacks, that's a great infield defense, and they will do well with that ground ball rate. But if you're Jose Soriano and you play for the Angels, who are the worst defense in baseball by a large margin last year, that whip is going to soar. I mean, traditionally, ground ball guys have higher whips than fly balls. So I'd say the best combination, if you can have it, is a low home run rate, homer per 9, with a high fly ball rate, which is incredibly rare.
Well,
but it's yeah.
But the thing is, when you get to that, then it's a matter of how the GM of that team puts together the team. They're going to hopefully get ground ball pitchers when the defense is good up the middle or something like that. You want to look for those teams that have a good infield defense and do have these guys. You want the combination.
Yes.
So I misspoke. You want the combination of both, where they have good defense backing them up, but also the good ground ball rate. That's what I was talking about. So that way, then they can get through more innings. That way, they don't have to rely on the strikeout.
So, as you're looking through spring training, Nick, who is an example of a pitcher that you're really a little bit unsure about where to draft, but you'll have a much better idea after watching him in spring training?
Oh my gosh. Ariel, come on. It's been like 1 week.
Well, I'm saying,
I'm really
who
curious
are you looking
to see.
out for?
Yeah, no, I know. Like Andrew Painter, how is he actually looking? Is he going to seize that role in Philadelphia, and is he worth that last round flyer just to get a good sense of that? Obviously, you want to talk about all the guys that we are wondering, hey, is he actually healthy and good? Like Nathan Eovaldi's already pitched once, and he looked exactly the same. And I'm thinking of it more of as 12-teamers as opposed to 15s or best balls, where for me personally, I love taking pitchers who are devalued due to health, where they are healthy to start the season, because once they have their injury or whatever happens, that's okay. You move on. And most of those guys are going at a place in your 12-teamer drafts where you're thrilled if you get 2-3 months of good production out of them right out of the gate, right? So a lot of those I'm looking at, so like Nathan Eovaldi I mentioned is one, McClanahan, Bubic are those guys. Like even Ryan Weathers being healthy right now, cool. He's getting too much hype now. But those are ones I'm focusing on. I am really curious about just Shane Baz, how he's settling in with the Orioles a little bit, making sure that, I'm trying to think of like the real major ones, Bubba Chandler, to make sure everything is fine there. But for the most part, it's just ensuring that everyone is normal and fine, right?
And Nick, Could you gauge pitchers control this early in the spring or during spring training when you're drafting? Because that's something to look for.
No.
Like, let's say a guy like Spencer Strider. You want to see his velocity, but you also want to see that he's not walking the ballpark. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, what it is, you want them to be normal. You don't want anything to be an extreme for the most part negatively, right? That's it. And sometimes you can hand wave it because, like, veterans are going to have lower velocity as they ramp up. They don't need to push it. While you actually should see some uptick of velocity for younger arms for two reasons. One, they're throwing in an inning and they can let loose a little bit more than 5 innings or so, and they will be more affected by that stamina loss in a game. And two, a lot of them are fighting for a position, which means that they are going to go harder at it now than, say, the veterans who have their job security and they're just trying to make sure that they're ready on opening day, not on March 1st. So when it comes to those things, velocity-wise, it's a fool's errand, I think, to really chase it unless you see a high velocity sustain itself through each start and through the stamina of future innings as well.
And control or lack of it.
I mean, that one is more about like the top 25 pitchers. If you see multiple starts later on where their control is bad, it's typically indication of injury of some kind. We've seen that in the past of guys having like horrific springs, walking too many, and it leads to them taking a game or a week or two off or something even bigger than that. So that's the only area where I would really be scared about poor performance.
So you have the World Baseball Classic this year, and you can have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. You're gonna have pitchers ramping up a little bit more, a little bit earlier, and so on and so forth. What does the ramp up mean for lasting all season long? And B, what effect in general do you think that the World Baseball Classic will have on the starting pitchers?
I don't know. I mean, it makes sense that, okay, they're pitching more and they have a disruption. I think that the data that we have from the last WBC is inconclusive to any sort of impact or getting more hurt as a pitcher. For years and years, we've talked about the playoffs and how that impacts pitchers, saying that, oh, they go deep into a playoff run, they're not going to be the same next year. And no, it's pretty much the same. Doesn't really affect enough that I'm going to say, oh, he did that, then I'm going to ding him. So I'm just pushing it aside. I'm not really thinking about it, honestly.
Okay. What starting pitchers have you seen that are developing new pitches, maybe change their pitch mix, and that we should look out for them?
Yeah. So there are a lot of different pitchers who are trying to solve problems, and we actually saw a little bit from the Mets. Jonah Tong is a great example of someone who needs a third pitch. He has this splitter,
His
which
velocity
is a
is
good
also
put-away
up, by the
offering.
way.
And then he has the four-seamer, but is there that middle pitch, that bridge pitch, and he's been trying to throw a cutter in this, and it wasn't very good for him yesterday. And it was because its movement is terrible. If there's one thing that I've really, really studied over the past 2 years is how to read a pitch movement plot. And I feel like I'm Cypher from the Matrix now. I can just look at that thing and understand the entirety of the pitch. And it's a 15 vert on a cutter is bad. 15 vert is what you normally get on a four-seamer, right? So that's how much rise it gets. On a cutter, you want to see it like to 6 at most, down to like 0. Closer to a slider's 0-0 of a gyro slider. And 15, I know that Tong has like an 18 to 20 vert on his four-seam already, but that is just not enough movement separation. So what it turned into is a pitch that is just a worst version of his fastball. And it got hit really hard. And I like that he's experimenting with that, but I was hoping to see something better than that kind of pitch. It could get better as we go on. Roki Sasaki is throwing a slider to try and find his third pitch. Same problem. You have a fastball and a splitter. His fastball's worse than Tong's, but a better splitter, I would say, than the Vulcan change of Tong. And he has this 87 mile per hour slider that's fine. I don't think it's enough. This is the kind of stuff that we can glean from spring training, especially now that everyone has StatCast. And it's really disappointing seeing that from Sasaki out of the gate. Of course, I'm not going to fully write him off. It's the first game. Hopefully it's better. We saw Nolan McLean lean into his cutter against left-handers. That's a big problem for him. Most of the time when we look into individual pitches and these changes, it's about solving a problem. You don't want to just see, oh, he has a new pitch and it's this. Well, like, okay, but he already has a way to get at right-handers. Why does he need that pitch, right? Why does he need a new sweeper? His slider is incredible. He has a sinker and a four-seamer. He doesn't need that. So seeing that McLean, who does struggle against left-handers, the sinker that leads the way against right-handers, is not as effective against opposite-handed batters. The four-seamer command has always been bad up and away, arm side, and a cutter is the solution. It looked fine, and that may be fine for McLean. He still needs to locate his sweeper better to right-handers, but okay, it's progress. So that's a little bit encouraging, right? There are others, I'm sure, but you want to know the fun thing, Ruvain and Ariel? I did a article last year with Eno Saris, Eric Samolsky, and Lance Brzezowski. The four of us all got into like a text thread, and we decided to have 4 different articles, which on our respective places. Lance's Substack, with The Athletic, Eric with Roto World, and of course me at Pitcher List. And we all decided to take 3 pitches that we were interested in spring training that we knew guys were going to be throwing, and broke it down and said why it's important and why this is going to matter. None of them mattered. We were 0 for 12.
That's interesting.
And looking back at like who had a new pitch that really affected their season, I think there was like maybe 1 or 2 that was really like a big deal that really changed the landscape for them. Now, sometimes in season it happens more so, but I think there's a lot of hoopla about new, and we don't really know yet. So I will shout from the heathens when we really get that. Like, for example, okay, best example so far is Ryan Weathers. The Marlins don't like throwing sinkers inside to lefties. Makes no sense to me. We saw Jesus Luzardo go to the Phillies. He threw a sinker inside to lefties. It was great. And now Ryan Weathers, after throwing just 9 sinkers to left-handers all of last year, threw 7 yesterday in 3.2 innings and 49 pitches. 7 inside to lefties. See, that's going to be a change that's going to help him against lefties, and I can believe in that.
Well,
right?
Let me throw a couple of guys and
Please.
give me your confidence in these new pitchers. Let's say Clay Holmes is throwing his curveball again. Jack Leiter's starting with a cutter. Tristan McKenzie has a sinker. Brian Bayo has a curveball. Which one excites you the most from those 4? Would you say?
I would probably say Jack Leiter with a
down.
cutter. All the other ones, traditionally curveballs are not game changers. A curveball these days falls into 2 buckets. One, it's a show me pitch, as just like trying to get an early strike in an 0-0 count. And those are traditionally the 81 to 75 mile per hour pitches. They have a lot bigger movement. And because they have that huge hump, batters swing less at those curveballs than any pitch in baseball. And it's why they either get a called strike or they miss the zone. And most of the time when they have a huge curveball, it misses the zone. It's actually not over the plate. So they're relying on that called strike and hopefully getting it, and they eventually just kind of abandon it. So that with Bayo and with Clay Holmes, not a big deal for me. Tristan McKenzie, his problem isn't a sinker. It's throwing strikes. It's actually commanding. He had the velocity in his first game, but he didn't know where it was going. And that's kind of always been the problem with Tristan McKenzie. He doesn't know how to properly get velocity without sacrificing massive command. So the sinker, sure, makes sense. Everybody should have a sinker to go inside against the same-handed batter, but I don't have faith in that. While Jack Leiter, his biggest problem is that he doesn't have enough strike pitches, and cutters are strike pitches. Cutters are pitches that you can throw in the zone that are a different shape than your four-seamer, and because of that, they can get a lot of foul balls, they can get a lot of called strikes, they can do effective things that the four-seamer can't. It just needs to be a companion for it. So that's the one that I'd be most interested in. However, I wouldn't say that Jack Leiter is a premier command guy, so I would need to feel confident that Jack Leiter is commanding this constantly and throwing it more than 15% of the time before I would actually be able to properly get excited about Jack Leiter's cutter.
All right, we want to talk a little bit about breakout pitchers and want to get your take. And who are the next middle-of-the-pack pitchers that might jump into elite status and maybe a prospect or minor league pitcher that might make an impact in 2026?
Oh, okay. So I was curious. I saw this, and I didn't know what you defined as a middle to elite? Like, where is
somebody
does elite end?
somebody who's going as like an SP 4 through 7 in leagues right now, but might jump up into be an SP 1 through 3.
Oh man. Okay. So I mean, there's what Eno calls the hype 7, which I love. I think that's a phenomenal term. And those are all of the rookies from last year. They're really the young ones, the new guys, like Mizorowski, Chase Burns, and Nolan McLean, Bubba Chandler, Trey Savage, Cam Schlittler. All of those have massive upside. I'm excited to watch them. I likely will not have any of them on my teams. But
Same here also for some reason. But
well, it's
that's
because
projections are down,
Well, right. There's volatility, and
Yeah.
we don't really know. There are so many good pitchers that I don't feel comfortable going for the guys with the cloud above them, right? The haze, to really understand it. I would say that undervalued of the group is also Cade Horton, who, hey, Remain, remember what we were just talking about with like having a good defense?
Yep.
Cade Horton pitching for the Cubs, and they let him go 6 innings constantly. He churns out all the outs all the time. He has a whiffable changeup for lefties and a whiffable sweeper for righties, which vastly indicates that he should be better than a 20% strikeout rate that he was last year. I think that Cade Horton, who's not even 25, is prime for a breakout season this year and just like a stable rock for teams. Mackenzie Gore is in a great situation. A lot of people love to talk about that one, but I would probably say Emmett Sheehan is going to be a dude. He's finally getting his opportunity for the Dodgers, and he's someone who
Is he going to get enough innings, though? Because the
Why
Dodgers
wouldn't he?
The Dodgers go 6-man rotation. They constantly limit
Sure.
innings.
So what would be enough innings for you?
For Emmett Sheehan, so
150 to 160, I'd say.
Yep, that's. I mean, how I
Yeah,
see it is
yeah,
Emmett
that's
Sheehan
fair.
just goes and is allowed to go 6 innings when he starts, right?
well, if that's so, he's a bargain. I mean, if that's so, ATC has him at 133. So if you're telling me that you see him as 150 to 160, then yeah, Emmett Sheehan would be absolutely a candidate here.
Right. I mean, 133. Okay, so that's assuming that I hear that and I think he's going to be interrupted for injury or something else. Because as it is right now, when it comes to the Dodgers rotation, Emmett Sheehan, whether you want to say it's a 5-man or a 6-man, he's firmly in this. The other options underneath him are Roki Sasaki, who does not look good, guys. Ben Kasparias and Justin Rabolski. And I actually really like Justin Rabolski, but if you remember last year, they actually let Emmett Sheehan pitch when he did. They let him go 6 innings, which is incredibly exciting. So I think this is the time to really lean into Emmett Sheehan for the Dodgers. And of course, they have these guys who are going to constantly be injured. You have Blake Snell already injured, right? You have Glasnow in there too. So I'm a huge Emmett Sheehan guy. I feel like that's someone everyone's going to be like, man, why? I wish I had him. Otherwise, I would say, oh gosh, I mean, it's tough because I like these players, but I wouldn't really necessarily say you should go and get them. But Landon Roop reminds me of Aaron Nola a bit. Cody Ponce, I think, is getting overlooked with the Jays because he has good stuff essentially, and the Jays are going to lean on him to be part of that rotation, especially with the Savage getting delayed likely. And maybe even Scherzer. I don't even know if Scherzer is going to be in that rotation the first week or two.
Just signed last night.
Right. So is he fully, like, is he going to need extra time or not? I don't know. Logan
He's
Henderson.
not going to pitch all that many innings, so
You
might
can't
put him
rely
in.
on
Right.
that, no.
So might as well just like wait it out a little bit. They have their 5 guys. It's okay.
Does that mean that Jose Barrios is now fully bullpen?
Well, he's in the rotation now, I would say, to start the year, and then we'll see where it goes, right?
Right.
Logan Henderson is someone I would certainly be considering. As I mentioned before, Andrew Painter. There's Robbie Snelling, who eventually should be in this Marlins rotation. And he's certainly somebody that I would be paying attention to. I want to see if there's like another one that I'm just so amped about. But I'll be honest, guys. As I'm getting older, I'm a married man now. I've become more and more conservative on like who I want to chase and be protective of the innings I give my fantasy teams, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not jumping over the fence for all of these prospect stashes and everything. I feel like, you know what? I'll just take Bryce Miller, guys. Bryce Miller's great and should be far better than he was last year. So I know he has bone spur issues, and that's fine because he's going at pick like 240. If your worry is health eventually, again, that's your 21st round pick in a 12 teamer.
Right. Any other names, Ruben?
No, I think he nailed all of them. I'm just curious. I was looking at the Rays staff: Rasmussen, Pepio, McClanahan, Nick Martinez, and right now, according to roster resource, Steven Matz.
Yep.
Is that true? Steven Matz hasn't been a starter in 5 years. How much can we expect from him, and what can we expect from the Rays starting pitching? Because some are going expensive and some are going cheap.
Yeah. Well, Mats hasn't been a full-time starter in like 5 years. Right, he's had these like
Right.
rare starts here and there, and Mats is always like confounding to me. He doesn't get swing strikes. He has a changeup and curve and sinker, but he commands well. And I think the Rays believe in it a bit. I will say he pitched mostly, if not like 1 or 2 games, all in relief last year, and you normally see that uptick in velocity, right? When you have that, so it probably will come down a little bit. I'm not a long-term fan of what they're doing here. So you actually have Brody Hopkins, who is this hard-throwing guy. You might have seen him, I think, yesterday or the day before. And yeah, I think it was yesterday, but all the data was messed up and it was so annoying. You might see him actually jump into a role soon, but Ian Seymour would be before him, and he's a swatch, a southpaw with a tight changeup. You saw a lot of those last year, like Parker Messick and Matthew Boyd and Noah Cameron and Nick Lodolo and so on and so forth, Andrew Abbott. Ian Seymour, I think, is good enough to be in that rotation too, and the second that he gets an opportunity, I would certainly go for it. But yeah, I have all 3 of those at the top there. Ryan Pepio, Drew Rasmussen, and Shane McClanahan all circled for my drafts, 100%. I have Ryan Pepio for 12-teamers ranked at 23, and I have Rasmussen at 24. And I think the last time I checked into Fantasy Pros, it was like 50 for Drew Rasmussen. So yes, I think I'm going to have a lot of Drew Rasmussen this year. He's just incredibly good.
Rasmussen has been good every
weak
single
contact.
year. He's been great.
Yeah. And Pepio, the thing also is that they're going to Tropicana from George Steinbrenner Field.
Right.
So expect them to be better. Ryan Pepio has one of the better fastballs that no one knows about. And it's just going to be better pitching inside of what he called a pitching lab, which is essentially the ball goes where I want it to go, as opposed to George Steinbrenner Field, where all of those Rays pitchers, including Boz, they were fighting against the mound and the environment the entire season. So I'm really stoked for those 2 guys.
Just one more question for you before we talk more about the ATC undervalued players. Foreigner Tetsuya Imai is getting a lot of hype in the Astros rotation. I know nothing about him. All I can tell you is ATC projections say don't bother. What do you think about him?
I mean, I love him. How much hype is he getting? Because I have him at 33, and I think I'm higher than others are. I'll put it this way: I'm trying to value as much as I can.
I mean, he's going in the 12th round right now.
12th round of
15 teamers.
Of 15 teamers. So if you just, gosh, I don't know what that. Yeah, that's going to be like 45 or something, right?
He's going
SP
pick number
45?
174.
Okay. Yes, I will grab Amai at 160 every single time, right? Tatsuya Amai is someone who I am valuing because he is a veteran mind. He is like he's one of the rare pitchers that will sit like 94, 95, but then later on when he needs it will go up to 98, right? Like Verlander would do that, ramp through the game, as opposed to a lot of these younger guys who are going to be throwing their hardest in the first couple innings and then dwindle. And also you have Amai throwing multiple slider shapes. You have the splitter that is incredible as well. He is a quality pitcher. And I also love that he's pitching for the Astros. I mentioned the Guardians, the Mariners, and the Royals before as it's teams that do like to let their main guys go. The Astros are one of them. They don't like to do it for their for a guy like Mike Burrows maybe, or your Jason Alexander, who are only like 2 pitch essentially. But no, they're going to let him go his 6 innings each time. Winning ball club, good environment. I really think that Amai is one of those guys that you draft and you just don't drop him the entire year. And those are obviously the guys that I want to grab as much as possible.
Right. I mean, he's definitely a guy that ATC projections just says forget it. I mean, in a 15-team league, I have him worth -$2, which
What?
yeah, that's what the projections have, and it's not like crazy. I mean, I got him at 155 strikeouts, 4.3 ERA, 1.3 WHIP. Not like crazy, obviously, worse than you're projecting him for, I'm sure. But according to that, we're talking, don't
And
draft him.
How many innings? Also, how many innings do you have?
155. So he's about a K per nine.
Yeah, so I mean that's like once every 6 days.
Yeah, I guess the ratios are just cautious.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said too. If you're projecting 155 innings, that means that these ratios that are detrimental are even worse because they're amplified over more innings than someone else is going, maybe 100 innings of that, right? So there's something to be said there about how it's assessing the projections. Obviously, of course, these strikeouts are involved too when it comes to volume. But yeah, I think that's incredibly unfavorable for his ERA and WHIP. I wish I had amazing data to give you. I highly recommend watching Lance Brzezowski's YouTube video about him. Also, Sarah's put out a video.
And
about
by the way, the
Yes.
volatility around projections are super high. I mean, he's one of the
course.
highest volatility pitchers, as you would
Absolutely.
expect any foreigner that's coming over. Where some projections just have him as, oh my God, he's a sub 3.5 ERA, and I have some projections that have him close to like a 5 ERA, if you can believe it.
Man, no, I can't. Don't use those projections.
All righty.
Sure.
All right, so before we get into the undervalued players, let's talk a little bit about the general landscape. And this is how I see it. Tell me if you agree or not. But
Sure.
there are the big three pitchers, Skubal, Skeens, Crochet. They are the super elite. In a 15-team league, as we often talk dollars and numbers in terms of the 15-team league context here in the show, we've got 14 pitchers between something like around $20 to $30. The super elite pitchers, by the way, are going close to $40 in NFBC auctions right now, which I think is absolutely bonkers. I mean, it's bonkers in terms of what you had to pay 10 years ago to get the ace, and to spend $40 on a single starting pitcher is very prohibitive, but that's another story. And by the way, and you can give your opinion on that as well. But I see 25 pitchers between $10 and $20. It goes to single digits, and it actually drops fairly quickly. So there's a decent spread at different price points. Now, 10 years ago, I mentioned before, the top starting pitcher in an auction would go for like $20. I mean, Reuven and I remember we were in a home league together, and Clayton Kershaw went up. He just won the Cy Young, and I said $19, and we won him. And everyone's like, wow, you're spending $19 on a starting pitcher. What the hell are you doing? Of course, that turned out to be the right decision. And nowadays, if you're spending $35 on Skeens or Skubal, you're like, wow, what a bargain. That just means that the values are spread out more. I mentioned there's 14 pitchers above 20. Even 5 years ago, you wouldn't have that, right? So people are spending up for pitchers. There's a bigger spread in values. There's less clustering. If you wanted to spend an $8 for a pitcher, you had plenty of options 5 years ago. You don't have that now. It spreads much thinner. It's for people who want certain players, it's harder to get them because the prices are just there's less clumps, right? There's less people at a certain price point. Makes it harder to pick pitchers. So it is a tougher landscape to navigate as well. Any comments on that, Nick?
I mean, that's interesting. If there's one philosophy that I think you specifically, Ariel, have really hammered into me, it's not embracing the name as much. Like embracing just the general idea of a player and similar players. So, for example, I have this tier 5 for my rankings, like Bradish and Erie Perez, Nick Pivetta, Ryan Pepio, and Alcantara, and Framber Valdez. And I don't really care which one it is. I just, I feel comfortable that I'm going to be able to get those guys. But the thing is, I could really make a tier of this if I wanted to. They're so close. Going all the way then to Michael King and Dylan Cease and Jesus Luzardo and Kevin Gausman and Trevor Rogers and Nolan McLean and Tatsuya Amai, and then even including Nathan Eovaldi and it's like Edward Cabrera. How much different really is Edward Cabrera? So I do have some pushback, and this is me starting at like 20. That's ignoring the top 20. I have some pushback at the idea that there are fewer clumps, and I would imagine a fair number of those that I just mentioned would go for that $8 range. Um, I don't suggest spending $40 for a starting pitcher. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I-
it's
that-
it's it's
it
very
just-
prohibitive.
too much of a risk proposition.
It's prohibitive.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that there are certain guys in the top 20 that I value, and actually, it's really interesting, and I love it so much. It might be a best segue, but maybe not. I mean, look, we'll talk about it with your ATC undervalued players, but the first one you have there, I could not agree more. So I super excited about that. But it's I would say this: try as much as you can not to be locked in on a certain guy. This is the Ariel Cohen thing of finding the hot spots and what was the term that it was where you have like two guys remaining in a certain bucket so that you get one and make sure that you don't get the one that's overpaid.
It's the economic box.
Yeah,
box,
well,
the
like
box.
where you establish the line of like
Oh,
where
the
the tiers are.
the Swiss cheese.
Swiss cheese. There you
Swiss
go.
Swiss cheese.
Love it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, guys, if you haven't done it, I don't know how you have not viewed the art and science of auction drafts on YouTube. It's Ariel Cohen's PitchCon presentation, and it's if you've ever done an auction draft or you're going to, this is required to watch this. It's absolutely the best presentation out there. So I can't thank Ariel enough for coming onto PitchCon and doing that. I believe it was last year, 2025.
Might have been 2 years ago. I think I did like an ADP analysis last year.
But yeah, I mean that's really where I am with it. I don't really feel as if it's. I feel actually in many, especially 12 teamers, and maybe it's a little different for 15s, but there are so many pitchers that are valuable and that you'll be really happy with this year.
Ruben, I'm going to ask you this question first. Must you grab an ace in the first 2-3 rounds? And which is it better, to draft an ace or is it to draft 2 to 3, let's call it 1A starting pitchers?
Economically, it's better to do it whether it's a draft or an auction. I think economically it's better to get 2 1As just for the reasons you mentioned. You don't want a $40 pitcher on your roster. Last year, how much did Tarek Skubal earn last year in ADP in a 15 team? He earned $40. Skeens earned 38. Crochet earned 38. If you're paying that much for those three types of those top 3 guys who are going in that range, you're not gonna make any money on that. I mean, yes, it's good to have those guys in your team, but you're if you spread it out and get 2 $20 pitchers or 2 $23 pitchers instead of a $45 pitcher, then you're spreading the risk and you're enabling yourself to have those 2 1As where if one goes down, because during the course of the season, I'd say maybe 50% of your pitching roster will be overturned just because of injury. If one of those 2 goes down, you still have that other 1A that's still standing there, which you wouldn't have if you had only just the 1 ace.
So I think this question does not have an absolute answer. I think it depends on the pricing year to year. This year, when you have the elite starting pitchers going, $40 first round, the answer is no, you're better off having the 2 1As. But if you're in a situation like last year where, I got Skeens for like $30, okay, that is worth it over the 2 1A pitchers. So I think it really is context dependent. However, there could be some, as we might talk in a minute, about good aces, number 1 starting pitchers, that might be a value as well. Any thoughts on this, Nick?
I mean, yeah, I cannot endorse chasing a starting pitcher with that much money. I think of it more so in snake drafts where I see the proposition value of hitters in those opening 4 rounds are just way better. It's just the floor that you get from them, the return for those draft picks, I think is far better. Where then the quality later on in drafts for hitters relative to pitchers reverses, where pitchers are just much more valuable than what you're getting for your hitters and your 12 teamers around 14, 15 or so. So that's how I approach them. It's actually interesting. I've been saying this strategy for a long time, and I feel as if this year and last year were so obviously swayed in that way. It's I don't know. It feels like I'm not saying anything cool anymore.
All right. Let me start on the ATC undervalued pitchers. And by the way, thank you all for listening to the show here. I'm sorry again about my voice, which is just been so bad for a month. But we got to talk baseball. It's baseball season. We got to get you ready for the season. All right, number one. And now I've usually noticed over the years that number one starting pitchers, you usually have to go above the ATC projected value to buy somebody. There's a market premium on aces. There's one guy up there that I'm finding myself really attracted to from a value perspective. I can't find any chink in the armor other than some assorted health issues, which may or may not even be. And that's Brian Wu. I mean, ATC has him as a $30 pitcher, and he's going for an auction price of $26. He's going in the middle of this third round. I'm perfectly comfortable with taking him as my ace at that price. I mean, he was just stellar last year. 187 innings, sub-3 ERA, .93 whip, nearly 200 strikeouts. I mean, he was an ATC undervalued player last year. He was on this list. We did him on the show, and everyone was not disappointed. I mean, Nick, do you see anything wrong with him? Are you confident in taking him as your ace?
I love Brian Wu. Brian Wu is my SP4. And I
Same
see
as
Brian
ATC.
Wu.
Same as ATC.
Is that right? Oh man. Well, I did it back in October, okay? No, Brian Wu is Zach Wheeler 2.0.
You have the ATC seal of certification here.
Oh man. I appreciate that. That means a lot, guys. That's ATC is, of course, essentially Ariel Cohen being the number one Fantasy Pros expert. If you didn't see that today, so
yeah, not
there
just
you go.
projections. Usually like the top of the best projections, but actually, if you used ATC as the ranking of all players according to Fantasy Pros, it was number one, which is absolutely crazy. But I guess it's true.
There you go. So yeah, Brian Wu. There you go. We're on the same page. Easy, guys. Listen to me and Ariel. We have Brian Wu, who just has four-seamer sinker, and they are so good. He could even be better too, and this is why it's also really fun Zach Wheeler comp, because if you remember, Wheeler is really four-seamer sinker, and then he sometimes has these breaking pitches. Maybe there's a cutter in there. Maybe sometimes there's a wrist splitter or whatever. But it's really those fastballs that lead the way, and Brian Wu actually doesn't really have the best secondaries. He just kind of features them here and there when he needs to, and he could up them and develop them over the years. So, yeah, Brian Wu is just insanely efficient and productive. So, I love it.
Ruben, any health concerns about him?
No, he had a pectoral injury last year. If anything, I think the pectoral injury helped him a little bit just to keep his innings down, because he did throw 186 innings last year. So I think as long as that injury didn't affect any of his mechanics, then I think there should be no risk, no injury risk here whatsoever. If he pitches well in spring, or just gets through spring healthy, I don't think there should be any issue with health at all.
Honestly, the only reason I'm not buying him in every single league is because I do want some diversification on my fantasy teams with my number one SP. God forbid he goes down. I don't want every single team to have him. But he's definitely on, a higher percentage of my teams than most. And I know we took him in, we did 3 auctions, Ruben and I, and we picked him in the first 2. The third one we said, you know what? Let's go with somebody else. Unless Wu is like, $3 discounted below what we would pay, we'll go with somebody else. We took like Christopher Sanchez. Yeah, Brian Wu is definitely an anchor. ATC says so, and I guess Nick agrees.
And Nick, I have a trivia question for this. So Ariel,
Oh, no.
Oh,
the
that's
music.
right. Sorry,
Cue the
Ruben.
music.
I did not cue it up, but here we
Cue
go.
the music.
Here, let's cue the music. Injury Guru's trivia of the week.
Brian Wu actually led a category according to StatCast last year. He led the category of max exit velocity, which is the high speed of the ball off the bat. He was number 1 in the majors last year at 120.4. There were 5 other players who were over 117 off the bat. Can you name the other 5 players who had a max exit velocity of hits over 117 miles an hour?
Oh my
Is this a
gosh!
good thing?
So who allowed?
No,
these hits?
see that's a good question. Whether it's a good thing or not, when you see the pictures that are on it, you can think about that.
Well, okay. So I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be guys who throw hard. So, because the question is like, who are the pitchers that allowed this max EV, right?
Correct. Over 117. There are 5 of them.
All right, I'm going to start with Hunter Green.
He is not on the list. He's
Oh, I was
lower
thinking it would
down.
be like O'Neal Cruz. Okay, Garrett Crochet.
Not on the list.
Christopher Sanchez.
Not on the list. I think I get you guys.
Let's go with
I'll give.
Um,
Should I? You want to?
Sandy
I can give you some
Alcantara.
hints. Sandy Alcantara has made the list. 117.9 average exit velocity for Sandy Alcantara, but there are three above him and one below him.
But you said average or max?
Max
Oh,
exit
max.
velocity.
Okay.
Max.
Framber Valdez.
Framber Valdez was not. He was actually number 12. He had 115.9. I'm looking for anything over 117.
Logan Webb.
He was number 8. You're getting close. He was 116.8. You're getting close.
Okay. Logan Gilbert.
Logan Gilbert, not on the list. And
Jacob
I picked
DeGrom.
No, DeGrom. You're not going to. This is very hard
Forget
because
it.
there's such a wide variety of this, which makes me question how Brian was number 1 of the max exit. Number 2 was Andre Palante, St. Louis. number 3, Jose Barrios. Number 4,
sure.
Freddie Peralta.
Oh,
Number
I should've thought of
5,
Peralta.
Sandy Alcantara. You got, and number 6, who had a max exit velocity of 117.6, was Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Oh man, okay. If I had one more guess, it would have been Yamamoto.
Which
All right.
makes me question even using this stat to help evaluate people, because if you're using that stat, wouldn't you stay away from Brian Wu? Wouldn't you stay away from Yamamoto?
Well, I mean, it's a sample size of 1,
the season,
right? Well, no, what I'm saying is like it just takes one moment, and I don't feel that one max exit velocity, right, like defines a pitcher.
That's just
But
one really hard contact off of.
But they all had they all had over 421 events.
What
of
if
this.
Nick Pollack was in the majors? Would you then get a max velocity of 118?
No, because I don't throw hard enough.
No. What about Ariel Cohen? You've seen me throw.
Well, you threw a screwball, so that doesn't count. But Paul Skeens is up there. He had 115.8. You know,
Right.
Garrett Crochet was 115.5. So you're talking about the hard throwers. Yes, they're going to get hard contact, but Brian Wu is not really known as such a hard thrower, and he's up
Well,
there.
okay,
Barrios
so-
is not really a hard thrower.
I can explain it actually pretty quickly. What's cool about Brian Wu is that it is a really flat attack angle, and he has a sinker that moves off of this four seamer. Four seamer stays up, sinker comes down and in, or inside, or more of like middle in to right-handers. If he misses that four seamer, and it's not up but it's low, that actually matches the bat path, right? Instead of going against it upstairs. So if he misses it and a guy guesses that four seamer right, that makes a ton of sense.
There you go.
So this is not a stat that we should be concerned about if we see it. Like we're drafting these guys and like,
No.
oh no, I should be worried about that.
No.
Not in the slightest.
Okay, just you know.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
a
found it
good question.
I just found it curious. That's all.
Yeah.
By the way, I apologize, Ruvain. I usually queue up the trivia before then, but we were sort of getting into it, or I like this guy, So sorry
That's
about
fine.
that. It ruined the thunder of guessing Brian Wu. Although I mean, I would
No,
not.
I would
guessed-
not
I
have.
wasn't. I wasn't going to give you Brian Wu as an example because he was number 1 on the list. I wanted to try to guess the others just to compare, to show the differences and the wide range that you have there.
All right, so the next pitcher is Logan Webb. Logan Webb, I guess he's being projected by ATC for a 117 whip, but the last 2 years he's had a 124, 123 whip. Now his BABIP has been rather high the last couple of years, so maybe it's a little bit luck. And last year he had a 26% strikeout rate, 224 strikeouts. I mean, it sounds like he went more strikeouts and, worse whip, et cetera, et cetera. His walk rate was stellar last year. It was 5.4. I mean, Logan Webb, to me, is an anchor. He's had at least a $10 value the last 6 years in a row. To me, when you're paying for somebody who's near ace, and he's either going to be your very low-end number 1 or upper number 2, a 15-team league, you want somebody with stability. You want somebody who gives you ratios and strikeouts, and he's going to give you something of everything, right? Even if he goes 1-2-4 whip, he's giving you the low ERA, or he's giving you the wins, or whatever. I personally have absolutely no hesitation on taking Logan Webb, and not that he's mispriced. He just never goes for as much as he should, I think. He's been on this list of ATC undervalued players for years, and he's beat expectations almost every year, other than 2024, where I think he was only worth $10. But, again, if you're paying $15 for a player and goes $10, it's not the worst thing. It's like his value is crashing. Any insight on Logan Webb, Nick? Do you agree that he is a bargain? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Logan Webb, is someone that I initially did not like because I do favor Whip a little bit more than I think other people do, and I don't know if I'm exactly right about it. But I don't like having guys who go a lot of innings who are a detriment in some category
Oh, and
because
by the
that's what a
way,
124
does the
Whip
new
is.
Giants defense help him? Because they did
Well,
improve the left side. The left side, call it, not the right
okay,
side.
right. I mean, is it new? It's Chapman and Adamas again, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is. I guess it's Chapman and Adamas.
It's
Actually,
more about Arias at second
yeah, I
base,
guess
which is
Arias'
annoying.
detriment to Endeavors ain't that great. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm sorry. Maybe it didn't improve.
Well, I will say that he had third percentile BABIP last year, 349, which is always going to be elevated because it's Logan Webb. And with that ground ball rate, you're going to have that higher one. However, it is the highest he's had of his career without allowing more hard contact than he's had before, right? It's his ICR, that is ideal contact rate. It's the pitcher's version of it, of hard hit rate that is more suggestive to actually allowing hits. And that was pretty much in his career norms, if not like slightly lower. What happened early in the season is he had all four pitches working really well together, where he didn't have to go just sinker changeup. He had the sweeper, he had this cutter going as well, maybe even some surprise four seamers. And by the end of the year, it turned more into the changeup show again, which I didn't really like. I feel as if Logan Webb does try to, I don't know, experiment more than I want him to in season. And it will be frustrating a little bit in your 12 teamers. You will see a lot of 117 whip games, right? 6 innings with 7 base runners. And it's just like, oh, I just want him to not have that. I want him to have that sparkling game. And it's going to be a little bit of a process. But as you said, Ariel, like he is an absolute anchor when it comes to volume. It's really crazy.
200
straight
innings,
years.
3 straight years, 190 innings, 4 straight years.
He's never had an ERA above 3.5, say for 2020, which doesn't count.
Yeah.
I will say his whip is above 115 in 3 of his last 4 seasons, with 123 and 124 in the last 2. And that strikeout rate of 26%, I don't think is going to stick around. I think he's really more like a 22% strikeout rate guy. And yet, that's like a strikeout in an inning. So it should be still around 200-ish strikeouts, right? So, yeah, that's Logan Webb is great. He's gonna be good again.
And you're talking about the fielding aspect. You know what his FIP was last year? His FIP was the 4th lowest in majors behind Skeen,
right.
Skubal, and Christopher Sanchez. So you're
But that
talking about
makes
fielding.
sense, though.
Yes,
because
it makes
it's-
sense. So yeah, I mean that's exactly what we're talking about. So
Well, no,
and,
no,
and
but
the fact that
but I
he's-
guess what I'm getting at, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ravane, is that FIP is reliant on BABIP, right? And
yes,
it doesn't take into account that higher ground ball guys are going to have higher BABIPs. So his 349 BABIP, which is 3rd percentile, is absolutely going to say that the ERA should be lower to 260, right? And especially also
Well,
when he
if
had
he-
a
if he-
26% K rate versus 5%
if you had a
walk
better
rate,
defense,
that
if you had a better
am-
defense, you know that fixes the problem, or should fix.
Well,
the problem,
he isn't though.
to a certain
He's getting
extent.
a rise at second now.
That's the
Endeavors for a whole
that's the
season.
only war. Yes, that's true. But he has averaged 209 innings over the last 3 years. So
Well, right, that's
how-
the thing
how-
I'm all for.
That's
great.
That's right there. That's right there.
Yeah.
That's your anchor. That's your innings. And he had his highest K per 9 in his career last year. So even if he can't keep it up, if he can keep it in the high 8s or low 9s for his K per 9, and he goes 200 innings, I'll sign me up for that.
I mean,
take it.
when you're pitching in an NL West division and you're in San Francisco, at LA, San Diego, I'm not going to say the Rockies, even though they've not a good team, but I mean you're going to give up hits there. But some of those stadiums are just fantastic pitcher ballparks, and you're playing a lot more there, so it's going to help you to be in that division. Obviously
True.
you have to face the Dodgers, but it's still the ballpark's better.
Yeah, but he pitches well against the Dodgers. He usually has bad matchups against them, but he usually pitches well against the Dodgers.
All right, so the next two are the injury concerns. I'll go to Ruvain first. As Nick mentioned, Nathan Eovaldi, who is pitching right now looks okay, and I like pitchers who are healthy. They can go bust at any time, but they currently are. Then you got Zach Wheeler, who Looks like he's going to get back sooner than we thought. I have no idea what the recovery is from, the thoracic outlet syndrome that he has. But I will tell you that Zach Wheeler, according to ATC projections, at 133 innings, is a massive bargain. We're talking like a $7 bargain. And Nady Eovaldi is about a $5, $6 bargain. Both of these are extreme bargains for some injury risk. So, A, Ruvain, what's the injury status? And B, are they worth it?
Well, we'll start with Eovaldi. Last year, he had triceps fatigue / inflammation, and he dealt with a sports hernia and had surgery at the end of the year. He hasn't pitched more than 150. He only pitched 150 innings 4 times in his career: 2024, 2021, 2014, and 2015. He just turned 36 earlier this month. He's not getting any younger, so there is always that injury concern. But if you project maybe 140 innings, you're not going to be. You shouldn't be disappointed because he should be able to make that. You don't expect 180 innings out of him because you're not going to get that. Same with Zach Wheeler. He was throwing off a flat ground. He's throwing at 120 feet. I think he posted a video session of a bullpen session that he had earlier today. He's making steady progress in his throwing program. He had a mid-August procedure to remove a blood clot, and then he had thoracic outlet surgery done after that. So thoracic outlet surgery usually is not kind on pitchers, but that way. A lot of times it affects velocity and also their ability to throw the ball over the plate properly without getting it killed. If you just look at the other pitchers, I mean, Matt Harvey is the poster child for the thoracic outlet surgery for a pitcher who he never recovered. He was never the same pitcher after that. Zach Wheeler is a different animal than Matt Harvey because Zach Wheeler is older, number one. Number two, he's been through the ringer. He knows what to do. He knows how to pitch. Matt Harvey was just slinging it out there a lot of times. So you have to these guys are worth their worth where they're going right now. If you 130 innings of Zach Wheeler, yeah, I could take that, but you have to understand you're only getting 130 innings. Are they going to be Zach Wheeler under 30 innings? The first 50 or so may not be, and you have to stick with him or bench him for a little bit just until he finds his footing a little bit here. But I think both of them, if I had to choose between one or the other, I think I'd probably go right now at this point in the spring. I go with Eovaldi over Wheeler.
All right, Nick, your thoughts?
I mean, Eovaldi's pitching now.
Yes,
I like guys
exactly.
who are pitching now. So I will go Eovaldi, and I understand the mystery box of Wheeler. I like stashing him too. I think him, Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Jared Jones, those are great IL stashes to get, I don't know, pick 200 or so in your 12 teamers. Just have one of them. Don't overdo it. But yeah, I mean, all signs are that Zach Wheeler is better than traditional TOS, as you're saying, Ruvain. But Nathan Eovaldi just went, 130 plus innings of a sub-2 ERA and had his best curveball of his career, and it was glorious. And what did he do when his first spring training start? Looked exactly the same. So I love that. I love drafting guys that give me production right away, and we're just waiting for it to stop, as opposed to drafting a guy and waiting for it to start.
So let me say two things here. First of all, if you're in an NFBC league that does not have IL slots, that makes Zach Wheeler's value lower because you can't stash him. But I took him in a DC where, you got 50 roster slots, and so you don't really have a bench, or you have an unlimited bench, or whatever you want to call it. I took him. If I was in an IL league, I would be more inclined to take Wheeler. As far as Eovaldi goes, I think his value goes up in a trading league. It's the old Kershaw. Draft Kershaw. You know you're going to get great innings to start. You know he's going to get in the IL, so trade him after a month or two, and you get a month or two worth of excess value, and then you trade him and you get even more value. So if you're in a trading league, draft Eovaldi, pitch him for 2 months, trade him, and even if he goes in the IL, okay, you've gotten your value and you get more. That's how I would play him.
Yep.
By the way, Eovaldi debuted in 2011. Do you know what team he debuted for?
Marlins.
Nope.
Dodgers. I watched it.
Oh,
Dodgers.
I watched it. I remember it now. Oh my gosh.
2011. 34
Oh, why did I
innings for
say
the Dodgers that
Marlins?
year.
Oh my gosh, it was Dodgers. Jeez.
Yes, it was.
All right, next one is Sonny Gray, another tried and true vet that ATC says, sure. He had 200 strikeouts each of the last 2 innings. Now, Sonny Gray's ERA last year ballooned to 4.28. He had a very high BABIP. He had a low-ish strand rate. He was super duper the last 2 years before then. We're talking a guy who's going to probably have high 3 ERA, decent whip, very good strikeout rate, volume. Again, if he stays healthy, it's just value. He's just going lower than his value. And the question is, why are drafters not taking him for a higher price? Is it not much upside? Is it, oh, well, he's 36 years old, break down? I don't know, Nick. What's your take? And do you agree with the small bargain that ATC is giving for Gray?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Sonny Gray should provide you good innings. I don't know if they're going to be incredible. I think there's going to be some volatility, which has me not really wanting to go for Gray. I think we're in a situation, especially in 12-teamers, where there are too many good options, and you got to be a little bit picky as to which ones you go for, which has me going a little bit away from Sonny Gray. But relative to like production, like Sonny Gray is right there with a lot of the guys, and I was expecting his strikeout rate to go down last year after having unsustainable put away rates with his sinker and his sweeper, and he essentially maintained them. I mean, that's why we saw another fantastic strikeout year from Sonny Gray. I think that the move to Boston isn't as negative as it might seem going away from Busch Stadium to Fenway. But yeah, I think he's fine. Like, yes, he's going to have those starts. You're like, what the heck? What's going on with Sonny Gray? Should I drop him or whatever? Like, no, just see it out. Like, it will stabilize itself. Yeah, I see why he's an ATC value, and I agree.
Yeah, especially for deeper leagues. Ruben?
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't have the New York effect where he goes to Boston, he goes to the big city and has another meltdown. I don't think it's gonna be the same. Boston is a little bit different than New York when it comes to that.
Oh man,
I hope not. Now he's averaged 177 innings over the last 3 years, and he uses 5 pitches at least 12% of the time. That's like a younger Chris Bassett, although Chris Bassett is actually older than by 1 year. But he uses 5 different pitches, and that can throw the younger hitters, especially let's say on teams like, I don't know, the Baltimore Orioles, who have a lot of young players. When you have to look for 5 different pitches, you don't know when they're coming, or you have an idea when it's coming, but you're not sure. That gives Sonny Gray the advantage over teams in the American League like that, over the Rays. I think he'll have an advantage over them. I don't think he'll have that much advantage over the Yankees, but I mean, moving from the NL Central, and Nick, you don't think it's a big deal. The NL Central compared to the AL East, those are 2 completely different beasts. I mean, how many teams over 500 are there going to be in the NL Central? How many teams over 500 are there going to be in the AL East? The teams are different, so I don't love the move. I think Sonny Gray will survive it, but I just don't love the move from divisions.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I will mention that, yes, there are more games against the division, but it's not as many. It's not like the whole season is just the AL East and it wasn't all NL East or NL Central.
It's not like it used to be. It's not like it used to be where we played 18, 19 times against a team.
Right, exactly.
But still, you're playing them more.
100%. It is swayed, and I get that completely.
And playing at Yankee Stadium instead of Pittsburgh, that's a big difference.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The next player I have more shares of than any other pitcher. He's Luis Castillo. I'm gonna without me saying much more, Nick, what's your take on him? Would you rather draft Luis Castillo or Bubba Chandler? Because they're both going at roughly the same price.
Oh my gosh, it's not even close. It's Bubba Chandler.
Okay, I'm gonna disagree.
Not even close. This is weird because I this is very much more of me being being like a pitching analyst, looking at the pitches and seeing what they're doing and watching him throughout the entire year and feeling like the guy who's, banging the bell with a sign saying that the world is collapsing. But what Luis Castillo did last year was unsustainable. He saw that his changeup and his slider were degrading and his fastball velocity was falling. And if you look at the second half where he saved his season, like, it was not good. If you ended, want to say like August 1st or August 15th or something, like, there's no way ATC calls this a bargain. Not a chance. But then what he did is literally had the greatest four-seamer command he's ever had in his entire career. And he just nailed the top of the zone endlessly with that four-seamer and got through it. And I see a guy who saved the year and has shown us for years now that things are getting worse. And now you shouldn't be throwing him away from T-Mobile, whatever. You shouldn't throw him away from there. That's such a good pitcher's park. He's so much better there. I generally hate doing home road splits, but when it's such a good park factor, it makes a lot of sense. And Bubba Chandler, and I understand that projection systems don't like rookies, as we talked about before, which makes all the sense. Bubba Chandler is a pitcher who the Pirates are now going to be pitching consistently. They're going to not baby him like 70 pitches or so. They're going to let him go 85, 90, whatever. And his skill set is incredible. It's a four-seamer that is a foundational offering, a fantastic changeup and slider as well. And it's just, yeah, this is a complete pitcher who I very much believe was a stud and then like realized that the Pirates just weren't going to call him up. Even though he was a better pitcher, they called up other guys instead and pitched worse because they're humans. And he pitched worse in the middle of the summer. And then when he finally got the call, he was great again. What do you know? So I think Bubba Chandler is phenomenal. And it's going to be a rocky season having Castillo on your teams.
Interesting. Ruvain, your take.
I like Castillo, but, and this is a big but, his K rate has gone down every year. His walk rate has gone up, has gone down also every year. His velocity has gone down every year as he's aged. He's got a 41% fly ball rate, but he plays in Seattle. So that's the only caveat that I have. But he gives you a bunch of innings also, and the innings aren't terrible. There are worse pitchers out there. You're not getting him as your number one. If you're getting him as a number two, that may be questionable. If you haven't getting, let's say, a Luis Castillo as your number three at where he's going, or get him like at a lower value, then he's perfectly fine. I'll be happy with Luis Castillo. Yes, you get the upside with Bubba Chandler, like you mentioned, Nick, but Bubba Chandler is, I mean, you don't know what he is. You said he was going to begin. He was bad during the summer. He was better when he got called up again. You don't know what you don't know. I mean, you have an idea what you're going to get. But Castillo, he's 33 years old. You know what you're going to get. You know his K rate's going to go down. You're not getting him from strikeouts anymore. His walk rate has gone down every year also. So he's throwing strikes. But could he learn how to quote unquote pitch and not just be the fireballer that he used to be?
All right, so it's going to cost you a round and a half earlier to take Chandler than Castillo. Let me ask
100%.
you guys a question. Who's going to have more wins in the season, Castillo or Chandler?
Oh, man. That's actually a lot closer than you think.
Okay.
I would say that is the one thing that Castillo might beat Chandler at.
Okay. Who's going to have more strikeouts?
I'm going to say Chandler.
So you're going to say Chandler's going to pitch how many innings?
Let's say 150.
And Castillo?
165.
So the strikeout rate is all that different. All right, so obviously you're going to say, by the way, I disagree. ATC has Castillo's strikeout rate higher than Chandler. That I disagree with. But with the volume, I think Castillo will have more strikeouts, actually.
Okay. I would say the ratios are going to be far better.
Who's going to have the better whip?
Category? Chandler.
And the better ERA?
Chandler.
Okay. All right.
That's I'll give whatever you want on the strikeout side and the inning side and the win side, but I very much feel that the ERA and whip side is going to be
who's going to have more saves
in Chandler's favor. If anyone, I'll bet on Chandler if the Pirates are stupid.
Castillo will have more saves.
But I mean, do you think the spread for the ERA and whip is going to be that big that Chandler's worth to go up a round and a half before when you can get another hitter there and wait for Castillo?
Well, what's interesting is I don't know exactly what round you're talking about because Castillo I don't want on my 12 teamers. I don't want him. I think he's going to hurt in my 12 teamers.
Okay. All right. Moving on. So I'm glad we have difference of opinion here. And again, it's if you go by projections, Castillo's tried and true old guy. Chandler, projections just never going to have rookies done well. I don't know much about Chandler, and he's not in the class of Skeens to know, oh my God, forget the projections, pedigree, blah, blah, blah. I just fear the innings, fear the uncertainty, and I save a round of value.
I get that.
So.
I mean, I'm fine not getting either one, but if I had to do the round and a half earlier for Chandler, then I would over Castillo.
Okay, Ranger Suarez, new location. We've seen Ranger Suarez vary year to year. He's had good years, bad years, exceptional years, etc., etc. But he's going as a nice little bargain also, according to ATC, at a nice year. He's worth $10 each of the last 2 years. He's only going for like a $7, $8 price right now in 15-team leagues. Your insights on Ranger Suarez, Nick?
Ranger Suarez is a phenomenal control pitcher, and I don't think that he's going to be in rhythm for as long as he was last year. But yeah, I mean, he's a better version of Castillo. He should get good amount of innings. He shouldn't have as many strikeouts, but it's like he's fine. He's a fine ERA whip win guy, right? I don't think it should be a massive strikeout rate, but he's fine. Like, there are gonna be some times you're like, wait, hold on a second. Why do I like this guy? He has no velocity and he just got hit really hard. Yeah, he's gonna have those moments when he does not have his rhythm and it's gonna be a bit rough. But for the most part, for the full season, if you want to look at it like that, then yeah, Ranger Suarez should be helpful.
Yep, I mean, these guys are volume plays here that with
Right.
less uncertainty, I think. I mean, we know Castillo is on the downside of his career, so that's something I understand. But Suarez shouldn't be, at least I don't think. Ruvain?
And Suarez, last 2 years, he's averaged 153 innings, a 1.21 WHIP, and a 3.33 ERA. He's going to Boston now, which, from Philly to Boston, not that much of a change. I'm just curious, Nick, do you think he's worth $26 million a year that the Red Sox gave him? or was this a major overpay for them?
I would say yes, because every player should be paid a lot more than they are.
I understand that, but based on his skill set,
Relative to the field, probably not,
to the
no.
field and market. So
Yeah,
so
no.
that means we shouldn't overpay. And if you can get him where he's going right now, I think he's a good bargain.
Okay. Next one, I know you alluded to him earlier, is Matthew Boyd. He was great last year. ATC has him as a $6 bargain. I mean, a $4 market price, $10 value. The only thing I'll say is that he's got the ATC volatility metrics. He's got a very negative skew, negative 3.2 skew, which is rather awful. And he's got a decently high volatility. So he's a more uncertain pitcher. Projections don't agree. And if anything, there's an outlier high, which means that his ATC projection is lower. If I do my ATC risk-adjusted prices, which I've actually never written about, I will be writing about this at some point in time on how to take actual prices and risk-adjust them to gain even more value. But he loses like $3 right off his price. But even then, he's a $7 risk-adjusted price going for $4. That sounds not so bad, and I mean he's had sub 3.25 ERAs each of the last 2 years. WHIP has been great. Any issues with Matt Boyd, Nick?
Well, Matthew Boyd is someone that traditionally does slow down, and what's interesting to me is Wrigley is a great place to pitch until it gets to the middle of the summer, and then actually becomes a bad place to pitch. I believe there's an article on Fangraphs, which is a phenomenal one, talking about monthly park factors, and Wrigley gets affected the most by it. So if you think about Matthew Boyd coming from Cleveland to Wrigley, well, he was in a park that allowed a lot more left-handed home runs, which isn't good for him. And then you go to Wrigley, which is a suppressor force, so he's looking great for a while. And all of a sudden the home runs came back by the second half. So he's another guy where I would draft, and then when it starts to go south, move on from. I think he should be good out of the gate. I think there's value.
Okay, Ruvain?
I like the fact that we spoke about this also, that his ground ball rate went up, and that's a good defense there in Chicago. So that's not the worst thing in the world. My concern is that he pitched 50 innings in the majors in 2024, and including the playoffs last year, he threw 188. Now, that's a huge jump, especially for someone who has such an injury-rich career like he has had. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. But if he keep throwing those grounders, he used his cutter a little bit more last year also, get those grounders more and rely a little bit less on the strikeout, and with the defense behind him, I think he should continue to thrive. The question is, I don't know how many innings you're going to get out of him, because he threw 188 innings. Think about it. He went from 50 in the majors to 188 in 1 year.
Well, Tommy John, though.
Yeah, I understand, but still, that usually you don't jump from 50 to 188. That's a massive jump, and I'm a little bit concerned about that.
So I understand that. From what I've seen, and I'm very happy to talk more about it, is when you have a pitcher who has already done the workload through a season, and then they get Tommy John, it's actually ideal for them not to jump straight into like 150 innings. It's actually nice to have like the Bradish situation of, cool, I'm going to throw like 75 innings or 80 innings the year before, because that's actually like a better lead-in, like rehab to returning. But essentially what happened is it's just like, all right, now you're back from Tommy John. You already had your rehab year, quote unquote. We're just going to throw you out there every 5 days and make sure that you're okay. And I would, there could be an argument that maybe that's part of the problem from last year too, is that maybe he didn't have the stamina built up yet. If you want to consider him an injury risk because of the innings jump, I think it's more so for like young pitchers doing that and the first time they've ever put that strain on their bodies. But Boyd has done that before, which makes me less hesitant to believe it will have this bigger impact this year. I could be wrong though, and I am curious. Like, I wouldn't say that Boyd is the healthiest of healthy guys in the first place. I am curious though, Ravane, if you think that even if you get like 2-3 months of Matthew Boyd, then he gets hurt, you might still be happy with Boyd given where he's going now.
Yeah, I still would take that, but in context, the last time he threw 185 innings was 2019. So it's not just that he was 1 year away. This is 5-6 years apart from when he actually did it. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm still concerned about it because that's still a big jump. And
Sure,
to expect
yeah.
him to throw another 188 innings this year, I don't see that happening. If you get 130, 140, 150, he's worth it then.
So I will agree with Nick. So it's also about the price. If you're in a 12-team league, Matt Boyd is like a $1-2 going for like $1 or $2. He's like your last starting pitcher. In that case, you take him for 2 months, and if he's successful, and if he craps up, you drop him. Well, I mean, you've gotten more than your investment. It's not like you're drafting Zach Wheeler all the way up top, where you have to spend $12 on him in a 15-team league. Then if you lose your investment, right, a $1 player in a 12-team league. That's a good risk to take. So I definitely agree that Boyd is the kind of type that you're getting upside, you're not spending much. And look, return on investment is you want a big return, low investment, you're getting both with him.
Right. No, I do understand that, but either way, that big jump always, I see that and I always get a little bit nervous. That's all, even for an older pitcher.
All right, let's do the last couple of pitchers together. Is it Chris Bubic or Bubich?
Bubich.
Okay,
Bubich.
so we got Chris Bubich. We've got Jose Soriano. And we've got Cody Ponce, all values for different reasons. I know you mentioned you like the Kansas City. They pitched deep into games. Bubich had a great season. Jose Soriano seems like a guy with upside, albeit bad defense and a ground ball rate with L.A. But, hey, there's upside in that arm. And Cody Ponce, will his skills translate over from a different continent? So any takes on those three pitchers, Nick?
I mean, I love those guys. Yeah, Cody Ponce, I think a lot of times there is so much value to be had on guys coming from overseas, and we just don't really know. And what I traditionally see is that those are pitchers that are signed to be in a rotation and are trusted more than, say, like a rookie who's unknown to get volume quickly. So I like that. I like guys who can go 6 innings and 90 plus pitches early on. And I believe that Cody Ponce can do that. He had a great strikeout rate with a 95, 96 mile per hour fastball last year. And he has whiffs in his arsenal as well. Chris Bubich, another situation of a guy I think that's going far later than he should because of the injury risk. Everything that we know about it right now is that he's normal and good. And he was absurdly effective last season. I think his skill set was very repeatable. So it's the same kind of value proposition. If I have to pay a price, that means he needs to be around for the full season, I'm out. But if it means that I get value if he pitches well for 3 months, then I'm very much in, and I think that's where he is now. And I am out on Jose Soriano. I shouldn't have said that before. Soriano, no. Too bad of a defense, too ground ball focused, not good enough command. He will go through these moments where it's really cool and he throws hard and he has this nice curveball, but he doesn't adapt the slider enough, and it's not enough. I can't do this. He's going to destroy your whip again. So I'm not interested in Soriano.
Seems like you agree with ATC on almost everything other than Soriano and Luis Castillo.
Yeah, I saw this list. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Right. Okay. All right. All right. That's not bad there. Checks out pretty much. All right. Ruben, any takes on those three pitchers?
Yeah, Bubich, I have no issue with the injury aspect. 11 of his 20 starts last year are quality starts. I think he's going to be perfectly fine as long as that shoulder doesn't act up. Soriano, same like Nick. I don't like the defense behind him, but he can pitch really well. The problem is that in 15 of his 31 starts, he had at least 3 walks, which you can't have as their quote unquote number 1 or number 2 starter out there. And Cody Ponce, Nick, tell me if this is a good comp. Eric Fetty, when he went to from
No.
KBO to majors, 180 innings in KBO. When he came back to the majors, 177, and with an ERA of 3.30. It's about the same age. Cody Ponce, 180 innings last year. I think that's the best comp you can have because they both came from KBO. They both Eric Fetty had a better quote unquote pedigree. He was like supposed to be the Nationals' best pitcher at the time, and he went over there. But I think that's the best comp, and if he can give you volume, which I think that's what I think that's what they're looking for. I mean I don't see why not. What do you think?
I think that the strikeout rate from Cody Ponce is
Better?
different than it is from Eric Fetty. At least our expectations were coming into that. That's, I think, the big separation for it. Just to tell you a little bit more about what he does, he has a kick change that works against lefties. He has an 88 mile per hour cutter that's pretty much like a gyro slider, and then 94, 95 four seamer that he goes upstairs with. And that is a much more of your traditional, like, you would see a rookie prospect pitcher and be like, oh, yeah, this is great. This is cool. He does have a little bit of some concern about maybe some walks a little, but no, Cody Ponce to me speaks more to strikeout focus as opposed to Eric Fetty, who is sweeper, sinker, cutter, trying to get weak contact a lot. So it's a little bit different, but I understand where you're getting at of like the volume and having the effective performance in the KBO. But there should be a little bit more strikeout rate with Ponce.
And that was the closest comp I could find for anyone from the KBO.
Yeah, it's not easy.
know.
A lot of them are not strikeout guys.
Right.
All right, I've got one mailbag question. It comes from Frank Stamfel. He says, "Hi there. I'm currently in a 12-team NFBC 50 round draft together with Ariel Cohen, and we're trying to pick up some upside pitchers in the 45th round. Got any names for us?"
Oh my gosh, this is literally just for me. Oh man, has he read my top 400 yet? I will say this. I don't know. Okay, some of the ones that I feel like are just completely undervalued. I'm actually really curious. Where does ATC have Tyler Mahle and Adrian Hauser?
Tyler Mahle, we have as a 15-team league borderline replacement level pitcher, so like a $1 player.
Okay.
And
so you don't really like him then, is what you're saying?
He almost drafted him, by the way.
Yeah.
he asked me the same question, and I was leaning on Mahle there. I actually like Mahle, but I mean, yeah,
I think
he
Mahle's
was
going to be
leaning on
great.
me.
I think I think that's a phenomenal situation for
he's
him.
definitely an end game pick, bench round for me, or last pitcher in an NFBC format.
Okay. So if I had to really give okay, these are the ones that later on you're in a draft and hold. Is that right? 45th round.
It's got to be a lot deeper. We're talking pick number 550.
Okay. All right. I will sling some names here.
Right.
Dustin May is someone that I think is getting overlooked because he should get volume. It's a good situation in St. Louis. There is one, Mick Abel with the Twins. I think that Mick Abel and also Connor Prelip are two young arms who are going to step into the role with the Twins pretty soon. Not to mention Simeon Woods Richardson at the end of last season was throwing a splitter all of a sudden, and it really changed how he performed. He's also showcased a wide range of from decent to excellent extension, and from 92 miles per hour to 95, 96. And it's possible that he can take that next step and do that. We have also Logan Henderson, but Logan Henderson isn't that deep. I shouldn't say that one.
Nah, it's much,
Jacob
much,
Latz is an interesting one with the Rangers, who might actually fall straight into the SB5 role out of camp. You have Parker Messick and Joey Cantillo with the Guardians. I don't know who's going to get the rotation spot because I think that Logan Allen is in there. But Parker Messick might be off that rotation, which means his draft stock will fall, which means you might start seeing him around there. And Justin Robolski with the Dodgers. I think that Sasaki is not very good, and I think that Justin Robolski is a phenomenal pitcher. So I wouldn't be too shocked if the Dodgers looked at this with him and also Kasparius and said, yeah, Justin Robolski, you're our best option, and leaning on him a bit more than people expect. So those are some. Maybe it's not deep enough. Is that deep enough?
Some of those names are. Yep.
Okay.
What about
all right.
what about Tobias Myers? The Mets want to stretch him out as a starter. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Command isn't good enough. He doesn't
'Cause
have enough juice, unfortunately. Like there are certain aspects, like he had a really good changeup for a moment and then it disappeared. And sometimes the four seamer with its vert is great, but he has a really high arm slot that makes that vert not as effective. It just hasn't quite like added up to what we want. I'll throw one more in. Kyle Leahy with the Cardinals, who throws like a 92 mile per hour slider, which is an insanely good one. And I go, what? You're a starter? Like this is bonkers. Oh man, what other? I don't know. This is fun to do though. I haven't really had to jump into this. Jose Urquidy might be the 5th starter. Okay.
Is Sarah still on Jose Urquidy?
Not now.
Do you remember that?
Oh, of course I do. I mean, I was too. I thought he was great. He essentially with Jose Urquidy, he threw injured one year and then he got Tommy John and now he's back. That's like the story, so eventually Jordan Montgomery will be back around. I know it's crazy. He had a bad 2024 because he was pitching hurt and then he got Tommy John. That's all that's separating Jordan Montgomery from his $25 million deal. Blade Tidwell and Landon Roop with the Giants too. Tidwell could get an opportunity later this year with them, and you guys know them as Mets fans. Like, he's pretty interesting too. Oh gosh, do I have anyone else all the way down here? I'm looking at my top 250 now.
Is it worth it to draft any Rockies pitchers at all ever?
It's funny. I just got to has job, but it's the Rockies, which is at 258. I mean, yes, on the road, Chase DeLander, maybe, but that's it. Like Jose Urquidy, possibly, but I cannot endorse this. I really can't.
No, good stuff.
That's all I got.
Figured that was a good way to sort of get some low-down names from the master here. All right. Ruvain, injury report. I'm sure you got plenty of stuff.
Yeah, we'll start with Pablo Lopez, Tommy John surgery. He's done for the year, unfortunately. Simeon Woods-Richardson may slot in there, just like Nick just mentioned. Reese Olson, who's going to miss 2026. He had right shoulder labral repair. That's a shoulder issue. Shoulders are more concerning to me than elbows, just because usually the recovery time is just a little bit longer and a little bit more unknown. Spencer Schwellenbach had a procedure to move bone spurs in his right elbow. They said he's out at least 2 months, but there's no timetable. I don't think he's really draftable in NFBC 15 team unless you want to hold on to him for a dead roster spot for a while. Jared Jones, blast from the past here, who's shouldn't be, he's still young, but he should be game ready by late May. That's what the Pirates are saying right now. He's a guy just to keep your eye on. Corbin Burns, he's another guy to look probably later in the season, like All-Star break time, as he still recovers from Tommy John surgery. Garrett Cole also, he's first facing batters now. You'll probably see him sometime in late May, early June, if I had to guess. And Blake Snell, I can never see myself drafting Blake Snell because they're already saying that his opening day roster rotation spot is like they said it's a time's ticking. This is a quote from Dave Roberts. Time's ticking, but like I told him the other day, opening day is not necessarily a hard and fast target for us. That's Blake Snell. That's Blake Snell. So whether or not you want to draft him or draft Emmett Sheehan instead, I think you may have you want the pitcher who's healthy, not necessarily the pitcher who's better sometimes.
This is great stuff. And thank you very much, Nick, for coming on the show. I know we always have you, and it really means a lot that you come on, and just absolute great information that you can't get anywhere else. So thank you for coming on.
Oh, no, my pleasure entirely, guys. I absolutely love coming on here. You guys do incredible work. And I believe last year you did win FSWA, or at least you were nominated for Best Podcast. Is that right?
We won last year for FSWA Podcast of the Year, yes.
Fantastic.
It's so hard to repeat, though. So
I think it should... I don't think a podcast should repeat, personally. I think there's so many of them that we should be showcasing all of the ones that do excellent work.
Well, the other Fangraphs podcast, Justin Mason and Paul Sporer on Sleeper in the Bus, they won this
That's
year.
right. Well deserved there.
So
yes, they did.
Fangraphs wins in back-to-back years.
Yes.
So there you go. All right. Thank you so much. Nick, why don't you just tell everybody else where we can see your stuff? And
Of course, I run the site pitcherlist.com. We have our new draft guide that came out today. Rick Graham, our editor-in-chief, and also known as our reliever expert, helped create that with me, Scott Chu, and Nate Schwartz. We have our live draft assistant that is out right now that allows you to easily get a cheat sheet of our rankings and our PLV projections built in, so you don't miss anyone on your sleeper lists for your drafts, and that's with PL Pro. So you gotta go get that today. Pitcherlist.com/premium. But yeah, I'll be around doing my spring training roundups every day, monitoring all these starts for you guys, and pretty much telling you the one that actually matters.
By the way, how did you fare in the snow? We got in New York here 24 inches.
Oh my gosh, I had to go to the city Monday morning, and that was something.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But fortunately, I live in an apartment building, so I don't have to shovel.
I shoveled for 3 hours, and that was
see, this is I mean, I don't envy you there.
I only did 2, so good for you.
Oof.
oh boy.
Good on you.
Yeah. All right, Ruvain, what about you?
You can follow me on Twitter X at MLB Injury Guru, where I'm tweeting out injury updates as they come. If I see a video online of a player coming back from injury, whatever it may be, I post it, so look out for that. And you can also catch my writing over at Rotoballer.
Well, I'm your very hoarse host once again. Of course, tune in next week to the Beat the Shift podcast to see if I get healthier. But yes, Beat the Shift. Listen, as you are right now. I'm on ATCNY on Twitter and X. You can see my work at Fangraphs, Rotoballer, and ATC projections are up everywhere. We are really in the heart of draft season now. You're drafting all this month, so hopefully you've gotten great advice on undervalued players over the past month or so. We're going to have a relief pitcher episode next. That would be the last of the positionals, and then we'll have a couple more to get you ready for the season. So once again, thank you so much to Nick Pollack of Pitcher List and for everyone listening to the show. Thank you so much. I guess we'll see you next time. Happy drafting, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Beat the Shift podcast presented by Fangraphs. Follow us on Twitter at beat_shift_pod.